Hello and welcome to another episode of Command Block Basics. This time around, we're just kind of going over the execute command and all the different values that it has. As you can see behind me, there's quite a few, so let's get started. Up first, we have the align command. Let's see what it does. So let's turn on this repeating command block. And as we move around, we can see that this follows us, but not quite exactly. And no matter where we go, it mirrors the movements, but just a little off. We can come up here and look at it, and it's exactly in between those two blocks. Let's turn this off and come over here and flip this on. And it ends up right there. So looking at this, it ends up at the exact center of these full blocks. What align does is it takes wherever you're trying to do the command at and shifts it in the negative, rounding it down to the nearest whole number. For this particular command, we have it rounding in the X, Y, and Z. So that also means that elevation-wise, it stays exactly on a one block space. We turn this on again. We can see, even though we're floating, it's on the ground. We can go up a little bit. There it goes up to. Go down just a little too far, and it's back down, while we can still further go down. Up next, we have the anchor command, which we're going to skip. And now as. As is a fun command that I use all the time. So let's take Steve here. Let's put Steve down. And, oh, we have ice right here. Huh. Let's get rid of the ice. Oh, it keeps popping up. Well, let's take care of Steve and see if that fixes the ice issue. The ice is still there, but now we can break it. Put Steve down again, and there it is. What as does is allows you to execute a command from a particular entity, but not its location. So as you can see here, we have the relative coordinates 1 above this block. It always will execute from where the command is made, rather than from the entity. This is useful for a particular test of, oh, I want to make it to where I have a cow, and I name it something in particular, and then an effect happens. On the inverse, this is at, which I often combined with as to have a particular command go off at a certain location with a particular entity. But you can also use it as a, we have this entity in the world, and I want it to where whenever this is activated, when the command block is activated itself, that's when the actual effect happens. So I turn this on, and we can see that Stephanie right here gets a bone block. We don't have this as repeating, so we can break it easily, and it'll go away. But if we turn it on repeat, as they move around, they'll make this path. Alright, Stephanie, that's enough. Let's put you back up. Now we have positioned. Positioned is like the at command, where it changes the position of where the command is being executed from. So we flick this, and this block sets right here. Now that's not anything too particular. You can put the commands in to have this block be filled in anyways. Just take the particular coordinates, and we could do the same thing like that. But looking at this command, it is actually setting the block in its space that where it's executing from. And for this, we just have the position change. This is useful for remote effects that commands aren't easily able to label the location of. Normally this isn't too big of an issue if you don't mind going in and grabbing values by hand, but this is useful for, I can take this block, come way out here, go ahead, break this, turn this on, and it still goes from there, allowing you to move the command blocks pretty easily once it's finished. You could also have the change in position relative to this. So let's put the command like that, and it will pop in right there. We can take this command, come up over here, and paste it in like this. Turn this on, and there's the ice. Now this isn't the most useful way to use this command, but again, today we're not going over all of these as possible, just the basics of what it does. Now we have the command facing. This is a pretty fun one for how you can position players. So we have look right here, and we flick this lever, and we look in his direction and just a little above him. And we flick it again, and we look at him again. It's pretty handy for changing where something is looking. We have this running as facing entity at name equals look, and we have it running at the eyes. The eyes for cows, for some reason, are just way above them. At least what I've been able to find with testing this command. Also, if you try to change this to feet, which is the other way to use this command, it just has you look at the eye level of the cow. Which I do not understand why. Now, we have the actual run command as TP, and we're teleporting ourselves to the same exact spot. But the only difference is, it's executing it as if we're looking at that person. And teleport does have facing values that you can actually change in the command itself, so it utilizes that to change the direction. Up next we have store. So what store does is it allows you to put values for successes or failures into an entity block or anything really. I'm sure this has a lot of uses, but for right now, there's Dummy right there, and we also have Jeff. Come on out, Jeff. My cow wrangling skills are not that great. So, as I misspell wheat, come on. Come here, dummy. Come on. Yes. Food. Alright, so now that we got them both here, we can flick this, and Jeff ends up over there, and there goes Dummy. So what all just happened? We can flick this again, and nothing happens to Jeff. So let's take another Dummy, and let's watch Jeff. Jeff slides off in that direction, and Dummy ended up in the sky again. So what this particular one is doing is we are executing and storing the result into the entity, whose name is Jeff, into his motion, and we're making his motion 10, and then running the command to teleport Dummy 100 blocks into the air. This can be put as a positive or negative value, so we can put this as -10, and he ends up going in that direction instead. But we can flick this all day and night without Dummy being alive, and nothing happens to him. So it only happens on a successful result. This definitely will have a lot of uses for chaining commands, but I'm having a bit of an issue figuring out when to use this, as opposed to just a chain command block. I'm sure I'll figure something out in the future. This is kind of me learning as we go along with this, because I haven't had too much experience with commands since 1.12, which is before they changed commands up. So all of these different things we're doing with the execute command is extremely helpful now. It's just I'm not sure how to use these tools yet. I'm sure we can figure it out together. Over here we have if or unless. Let's take this ice block and put it right on top here, and it makes an ice right there. We can try to break it, nothing happens. We can break that, and then we can break this. So what this is doing is it is testing for if a block is one block above it, and that block is ice, so we can take this concrete and nothing will happen. It has to be ice. And then it is setting the block in that particular spot as ice. It's a fairly simple command that allows you to just test for things to cause an effect to happen. So you can have a player place a block in the world, and if it's at a particular location, then you could have maybe a wellspring pop up that heals them, or have fairies pop out that have dialogue. The uses for this are pretty handy, and I'm looking forward to finding out more uses for this particular aspect of execute. And down here at the very end we have run, which is all of these other commands, great and all, but you can't use execute without run. Run is just running a command with all of the modifiers that execute puts in place. So for this one, we have no modifiers, so it's taking place right here, and we can turn this on, and we have a little bit of a snow flurry going on in what kind of seems like a desert. Well, that's it for today's command block basics. I've hoped you learned a little bit something about the execute command from all of this. There's quite a lot you can do with this set of tools, and I'm looking forward to finding out several uses for it. The stuff displayed here in the video are just the absolute basics for them. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye! Alright, so yeah, I didn't go over one of the commands. I'm sure some of you may have noticed that. And that's kind of for a good reason. So here's the anchor command. And I can flick this lever, and there's my anchor. It's a very poorly made anchor, but it's my anchor. And that's the anchor command. But no, seriously, the anchor part of execute, I have no clue what the uses are, and I haven't been able to make the eyes or feet anything happen. It's a very odd command that I just cannot find a use for, and I've looked online, and I haven't really seen it used. I'm just not sure what to do with this. I'm sure it has some uses somewhere, somehow. But, for me, for now, until I figure out more about it, we're just not going to use the anchor. Even though we will have it there as a tool, eventually. I can't believe you've beaten me. Ugh.